Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Checks and Balances TV. Today's program is entitled Boomer Anxiety. Will they ever be able to retire? So let's see how today's news may impact your financial future. AARP recently conducted a survey of voters age 50 and older and found that boomers ages 50 to 64 who are not yet retired are much more concerned with the economy when compared to both younger and older age groups. Topping their list of economic concerns are inflation, taxes, whether or not they will be able to eventually retire, financial security in retirement if they do retire, and affordable health care. In a presidential election year, these voters don't believe that either presidential candidate is doing a good job of addressing these concerns. Okay, so what's really going on here? Let's check the facts using our checks and balances process. In July of this year, AARP conducted a survey of registered voters and found that the 50 to 64 age group scores highest on the anxiety index. The anxiety index is used to describe voters' attitudes towards the economy and their future. Non-retired 50 to 64-year-old responders scored 70% on the anxiety index. And the majority reason for these boomers' economic anxiety is fear about their retirement futures. 72% of non-retired boomers believe they will be forced to delay retirement, and 50% have little confidence that they will ever be able to retire. 65% have little confidence that they will have the means to live comfortably while in retirement, and 59% fear that the negative effects of the economic downturn on their retirement savings will force them to rely more heavily on Social Security and Medicare programs as they age, programs they think elected officials aren't doing enough to protect. The anxiety index is comprised of 5 components. It's the 5 greatest economic concerns which voters say they are most worried about. And voters age 50 and older are most concerned about the following: prices rising faster than their incomes. They will have to pay too much money in taxes in the future. They will not have enough saved for financial security in retirement. That they will have health expenses which they cannot afford in retirement, and that they will not be able to retire when they would like to. Not topping the list, but other reasons reported for increased financial worry among boomers include having to take care of an aging parent or relative, not being able to afford a higher education for themselves or a child, not being able to keep up with the mortgage or rent payment, not being able to find a full-time job with benefits, and having more credit card debt than they can handle. These reasons are why many non-retired boomers will be forced to delay retirement into the future. Okay, so now that we've checked the facts, let's balance this news using our checks and balances process to determine what action you should take today. More than 3 in 4 voters over the age of 50 have been negatively affected by the economic downturn over the last 4 years. And even more blame the political gridlock in Washington for many of their financial concerns. As a result of the downturn, nearly 60% of boomers are planning to rely more heavily on Social Security and Medicare in retirement. Yet even more have lost confidence that Social Security, as they know it today, will be there when they need it. Other traditional sources of retirement income have taken a big hit in recent years as well. Retirees could once count on their 3-legged stool of a pension, personal savings, and Social Security to remain financially stable as they retired. But pensions are largely a thing of the past. Of those that are still around, many companies, as well as states, are suffering serious financial deficits. And with trillions of dollars in retirement savings lost in the stock market as a result of the latest economic downturn, along with plummeting home values, much of America's personal savings, investments, and overall net worth has been wiped away. Social Security has become the last hope for many, but can you truly depend on it? It appears that the government's huge debt and liabilities are putting Social Security benefits at risk. And with many retirees falling behind on their own personal debts, the government is coming after them for their Social Security benefits. According to data from the Treasury Department, The federal government is withholding money from a growing number of Social Security recipients who have fallen behind on federal student loans. Thousands of retirees are learning the hard way that defaulting on a government loan can come back to haunt them in retirement. The government can legally garnish up to 15% of a monthly benefit check for repayment of a defaulted federal student loan. And so far this year, more than 115,000 retirees have seen benefit garnishments. And most of these problems started when they signed up to help their children or grandchildren pay for college tuition by borrowing money through a federal student loan. Now, for those retirees who are already experiencing financial difficulty in retirement, a garnishment of some of their Social Security benefits for repayment of a federal loan to help a child or grandchild go to college may just be too great a financial burden to bear in their golden years. Okay, so what's the bottom line here? In an election year, people are turning to the political candidates to address their concerns and help lessen the fears they have about their economic future. But many boomers aren't familiar with the candidates' positions on key economic problems that apply to them, namely the solvency of Social Security and Medicare. Improvements to our Social Security and Medicare systems need to be made immediately in order to make these programs solvent and keep them viable for generations to come. And making sure these important changes are made really begins with you. This is a crucial time in our country's history, and every vote in this year's presidential election truly counts. So be sure to listen carefully about where each candidate stands and then make your vote count. And now for Matt's weekly financial tip, tool, or technique. To become more confident about your financial future, do what you can today to reduce big expenses in the future. Here are 4 commonly overlooked expenses in retirement that could take a big bite out of your nest egg if you're not careful. Number 1 is health care expenses. The average 65-year-old couple retiring in 2011 will need an average of $230,000 to pay for out-of-pocket medical expenses in retirement, such as insurance premiums, co-pays, deductibles, and prescription drugs. By the way, this does not include long-term care expenses. Number 2 is long-term care expenses. On average, 1 out of every 2 adults will require some form of long-term care assistance in retirement. And the average cost of a nursing home in the U.S. is $219 a day. Adult daycare is $67 a day, and an assisted living facility could cost more than $3,000 per month, depending on where you live. A long-term care insurance policy or rider could dramatically protect your financial nest egg from these expenses. Number 3 is taxes. Now, rarely do taxes go down. And even though your tax bracket may be lower today than in the past, it doesn't mean that tax rates will stay the same way forever. So be sure to take into account the potential increase in tax rates in the future and do what you can today to defer your income tax liability on money you don't need to live on currently. And number 4 is inflation, also known as the stealth tax, because it erodes our buying power without a sound and is virtually unseen until it's too late. And the average inflation rate in the U.S. is 3% per year the last several years. So be sure your money, as well as any long-term care policies you have, grow at least at the rate of inflation so you don't lose purchasing power in the future. Avoid retirement anxiety by planning for both the expected as well as the unexpected expenses. If you do, you can be more confident that you'll be able to retire when you want to and live retirement on your terms. Be sure to log on to our website and download our featured report, 10 Simple Steps to Financial Freedom, a free report that gives you 10 easy steps to becoming financially free and having enough money to do the things that you want to and what's important to you without financial worry. And finally, remember that only you can control your financial future. You can succeed. You just need confidence and determination. I'm Matthew J. Reddick from Checks and Balances TV. Until next time, dump debt, invest wisely, believe in yourself, and make it happen.